Would you take the train in?
I would usually take the train.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So I'll give you a heads up a couple weeks before.
sounds good. So where are you now? Are you back home
I,
or?
yeah, I am back in Washington, D.C. Um, and we actually have a conference this week as well. So it's been nonstop, but
A little
I'm
busy?
enjoying it. Yeah, it's busy season.
Nice. Nice. How big's the conference?
It's pretty big. So it's the Council of Graduate Schools. So it's
Wow.
for North America. So it should
Hmm.
be hopefully um, some of the major graduate schools here in the US. Hoping to connect with some administration, some admissions
Nice.
people, and yeah, should be fun.
Good.
So I'll be heading there once we wrap this up. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Plans for the holidays.
Uh, well, I mean, we'll try to relax. Our program starts in January, so there won't really be a break because we'll have lots of
Mhm.
lots of
Prepping.
panicked lots
Hmm.
of panicked students over the next couple of weeks, as they confirm housing and visas and all
Hmm.
the rest of it. So it's one of those things we really, I mean, I know why we start in January and it makes sense to do the calendar year, but there are also times where you're just like, this makes no sense at all. We need a break.
Yeah, and so then you just have to look forward to summer.
Exactly. But all good.
Yeah,
It's nice to have things like this to kind of break it up.
I agree. I agree from the nuance.
Hmm. Yeah.
But Karen, I'm not sure we've met before.
No, I
Uh,
don't think we have.
yeah, so I know. Oh my God, I'm having a total brain freeze now.
Oh, are you trying to remember Teresa? Teresa Perez?
Teresa. Oh my God, I can't believe I just forgot her
Yeah.
name. Teresa, like I've known her for 5 or 6 years. Yeah, I know Teresa really well. And is Karen Jackson Cox still
Yes,
with
she is.
us? Yeah, so I used to
Yep.
work with Karen as well here at Rotman.
Oh, okay.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. So Karen is still in charge of the Career Advancement Center, and
yeah,
Teresa's on a 10-month leave of absence.
that's
She's
right.
actually at St. Lawrence College here in Kingston as the associate dean of their business school.
Okay.
So a really fun opportunity for her to be in an office instead of being on the road for a while. So quite a change for her, but she seems like
Yeah,
she's really
yeah,
enjoying it. So it's great.
yeah, yeah. Teresa traveled a lot. I don't, I'm quite lucky I traveled with this job, but I
Yeah,
don't travel, not like Teresa did. No, we were able
yeah,
to kind of balance it out a little bit. I only really go away a
nice.
couple of times a year.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. So we're all just taking turns covering
Mm.
some of Teresa's things for the next few months.
Right, sounds good.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well, Ryan. I don't think we did the introductions earlier either.
Nice to meet you too. Oh, Ryan, you a McMaster?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right, yeah, nice to meet you too.
All right, sir. We're at 10:03. I think we can go ahead and launch the webinar at your leisure.
Recording in progress.
All right. And thank you for joining us. We're excited to welcome you to our first MPOWER Admissions MBA Roundtable. I think we have a lot in store for you over the course of this next hour. So hope you're excited. We're going to kick things off with a poll for the audience. So as we wait for everyone to join and get settled, let's start with a poll. So the first is tell us about yourself. Where are you from? I think we have people joining us from Africa, from East Asia, possibly Southeast Asia, the Pacific, Europe, Middle East. Where are you from? Let's see. We're getting some responses here. Exciting, exciting. And, for me, I would say, personally, I'm in sales. I love sales. Marketing is also my jam, but also share with us what your intended MBA concentration is. We have, it's funny because you can go all routes. You can do finance, there's operations, there's analytics, entrepreneurship. So I'm excited to see what you all's focus is. And then lastly, are you a morning or evening person? So because we have people joining us from all over, it may be either pretty early for you or very late. So that'll tell us if this time either works for you or not. But I personally am more of an evening person. Okay, let's see. We'll give it about a minute or two to get some more responses. So from what I'm seeing so far, we have quite a few people joining us from Africa. That's awesome. I also see entrepreneurship, analytics, and finance seem to be the top concentrations in the MBA. And it looks like most of you are morning people. All right. Well, very excited to have you. So thank you for participating in the poll. I think you'll probably hear more about your interest, especially when it comes to your concentration as we move through questions with our panelists. But thanks for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now. And let's share the results. Pretty interesting stuff. All right, guys. Well, let's dive in. So as you all know, you are attending an MPOWER hosted admissions MBA roundtable. And for those of you who are not familiar with who MPOWER is, we are a fintech and edtech startup that provides educational loans to international students looking to study in the US and Canada. And so similar to you all, we started by 2 international students who had trouble finding funding themselves. Our CEOs, Manu and Mike, they looked around. They also had some of these issues, and they founded MPOWER, which is now a public benefit corporation here to solve that problem for you all. And the great thing about MPOWER is that MPOWER offers educational loans starting at $2,000 all the way up to $100,000 over the course of 2 years. And with that, the added benefit is you don't need a cosigner. There's no collateral required. Interest rates are fixed. And the loan is provided in US dollars. So you don't have to worry about losing value or the rise and fall in currency value. So that's a great thing. And I think with the fixed rate, it allows you to really plan. You don't have to worry about things changing or any surprises when it comes to your loan amount and what you have to plan to pay back. And then, of course, with the no collateral or no cosigner, in a lot of cases, that's not really an option. And so MPOWER takes that into consideration and allows you to pursue your academic goal. So that's a little bit about MPOWER. If you'd like to know more, I'm very happy to share more with you as we progress. But just to share a little bit about myself, my name is Sarah Kupalui. I am the Senior Manager of University Relations here with MPOWER, and I am also Nigerian. So shout out to those of you joining us from Nigeria. Very excited to be here with you all and introduce you to our panelists. So let's kick things off. So with our panelists, I want to first turn it over to, let's say, Ryan. We have Ryan joining us. Let us know who you are, what school you're with, and if applicable, share your passion. What are you passionate about when it comes to working with international students?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having this session here today, and thank you for joining us. My name is Ryan Shute. I'm a recruitment and admissions manager for the DeGroote MBA at McMaster University. McMaster University is located in Hamilton, Ontario, and then you're going to say, where's Hamilton? Where is Ontario? So Ontario, largest province here population-wise in Canada, but we're just about an hour outside of Toronto. So close enough to the big city that you can still access it, but a little bit slower pace at some times. In that space, I've been with DeGroote for about 4 years now. I started off in an admissions-based role. I really worked with understanding how students were approaching MBAs, what they were looking for, and how we could make them a little bit more accessible so we could have as a diverse class as possible. And that included making sure that we had a strong diversity in the international students that we were representing as well. And in that space, I now have the opportunity to be a recruitment manager where I get to travel, go across the world and meet students such as yourselves, learn about their interests and how DeGroote can be the right opportunity for them. And when we talk about passion, I think that's my number one passion, is making sure that I'm finding the program and the school that's right for the school or the student. It's important to recognize that not every program is right for every student, and we're really looking for the best outcome when it comes to those spaces. So excited to chat a little bit more today.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Glad to have you. And then I'm going to turn it over to you, Karen. So tell us a little bit about yourself, the school that you're with, and what you're passionate about when it comes to working with international students.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. It's lovely to be here and have this opportunity to be with my fellow panelists and to be speaking with all of you. Thank you for your interest. My name is Karen Zeleniak. I'm the program manager at the full-time MBA program at the Smith School of Business, which is associated with Queen's University. Like Ryan, we have the challenge of being in a small part of Ontario. I'm from Kingston, Ontario. We are about halfway between Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal. So while we all are also kind of that small city, we are close enough to the big city experiences that you'll want to take advantage of while you're here in Kingston. We are a university town. We have both the Queen's University, we have St. Lawrence College, and we have the Royal Military College as well. So it is a city that's very focused to student life and very welcoming that way. So we're lucky that we have such a great community to support our students. I have been with the full-time MBA program since 2018. My role as the program manager is really to work with the students on a daily basis. So I work with them to onboard and make sure that they have everything that they need. And then I'm here every day to help support our students as they go through the program. And I'm now given the opportunity to do some of the recruiting and be able to talk to you about some of the great things that our students are doing. So that's very exciting for me. The thing that I am most passionate about with our international students is that I get a chance to learn as well. We have so many great students from so many great places coming in. It's an opportunity for us to learn. And one of my favorite moments, I have to say, is when we have students that have never seen snow before. Our program starts in January, which is when it's snowing here in Kingston, and to see students arrive in Kingston and everybody wants to go out and make a snowman and everything on those first couple of days. It's a really just a beautiful moment.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. And Chris, please tell us about yourself, the school you're representing, and your passion when working with international students.
Yeah, so I'm Chris. I'm an assistant director for the full-time MBA program at the University of Toronto. So Rotman School of Management. I'm the opposite. I'm now going to be the guy from the big city who tells you how great it is to come to the big city. Yeah, obviously, we are located right in the heart of downtown Toronto. So if you're looking for that kind of urban experience, and living sort of in the heart of the action, that's obviously can be an appeal for some of our students. But also, the city comes as well with some, there's no doubt, obviously, some challenges as well when you live in the big city. Pluses and it's and I won't lie to you, there are always a few challenges when you're in the big city, but naturally a big part of the appeal is Toronto. So my role, actually, I've been with the University of Toronto actually about 8 years, but I've had a number of roles, working in the career center and career education, and now I've been in admissions for about 5 years. So obviously love my job. Like my colleagues, I've had a chance to travel the world. So there is no doubt that is a perk of our job, and we don't take it for granted. It's a fantastic opportunity. And, I think since 2019, actually, Sarah, and for our attendees, I've looked after our Africa portfolio.
Wow.
So I've worked very closely with candidates from Africa, primarily, Nigeria, Ghana, I would say, are our biggest markets. So I've had the pleasure and privilege of being able to travel to Nigeria and Ghana a number of times, and I do love jollof rice. I will tell you that now. It's never as good in Canada. So yeah, and I think really, why do we do this work, right? We do this work because I think we are, what we want to do is try and provide the opportunity here in Canada for our international students to not only improve themselves professionally, but maybe it's also a personal goal for many of our international students to come to Canada and not only study here, but perhaps build a medium to long-term career here in Canada. And that's the huge appeal of our country, is our relaxed immigration laws. And, the country as a whole looks to increase its skilled workforce through immigration, and that's the appeal, I think, of coming to any of the Canadian schools today as well.
Yeah, it's so great to hear about all of your investment in just aiding our international students through the admissions journey. 90% of MPOWER's students, the students that go through MPOWER, say that this opportunity wouldn't be available to them if it wasn't for the work that we all do, right? So I think that it speaks volumes, and we're all very grateful to be in this space. So to move into some of the questions, let's start with the basics. Can you share what your role as an admissions officer entails? And Chris, since we left off with you, we'll kick this question off with you.
Okay, so again, it may vary from school to school, right? The roles at Rotman, we kind of do everything. So we do not only the recruitment side of it, so that's the marketing, the sales component, but we also do the admissions and admissions decisions component as well. So really, when I think of working, when I think of, I know it's a cliche, right, using the word journey, but when I look at that applicant journey, I mean, we pretty much do it from start to finish. So we will work with candidates that we meet either through events we attend or our marketing activities that attract candidates to Rotman. We offer meetings, one-on-one meetings with them. Typically at the moment, it's very much like this. Help them with the application process, guide them through the application process. Then I also review the applications, interview the candidates, and then make admissions recommendations, which do obviously go through an admissions committee. So we are pretty much a one-stop shop, our admissions team. So it's busy, it's very busy, but yeah, we pretty much do all of it. And throughout that process, of course, we will connect candidates to current students or alumni as well, so they can get some of that peer-to-peer advice, right? Especially because for me, working with a portfolio like Africa, I haven't, my lived experience is quite different. So it's really important for our candidates to talk to their peer group as well about their experiences. And they often talk a lot about financing, right? That's a key component.
Yeah. And Karen, how would you describe your role as an admissions officer?
Yeah, I mean, I'd really just like to say ditto. It's very similar. We have application advisors here at Smith. So I work very closely with the application advisors as they're reviewing the applications as they come in, just giving an opinion on, the strength of the application. Is this somebody that we should be moving forward or not? Participate in the interviews, participate in one-on-one calls for more information if they're looking to learn more about the program. And then I also sit on the admissions committee. It's about 8 of us that review the applications and then make the recommendations. And the best part of that job is getting to go back to the applicant and setting up a phone call to be able to make the offer to them. So that's always a good part of the role that I enjoy.
I know the congratulatory call is always fun, right? It can get emotional too sometimes.
I had somebody last week who started to cry, and she was like, I didn't think I would be this emotional. And it's a really lovely moment.
And Ryan, how about you? How would you describe your role as an admissions officer?
Yeah, I'd say obviously similar in a lot of aspects. I think for DeGroote specifically, one of the focuses that we really want to make sure of is that we're making a personal connection with all of our applicants. So we're really high in the touch points, even from the initial, you just kind of select that you want to download a brochure. We'd like to reach out with you and connect with you to understand your profile a little bit more. It's really important to us that we're having students because making an application even to an MBA program is a financial decision. So in that avenue, we want to make sure that it's a valuable decision to you. So really working hand in hand with the student to make sure they're applying to the right program and then figuring out how to best situate their profile. A lot of students at that point in time say, what are you looking for in an MBA candidate? What is it that you want? And for us, it's you. We're looking for a different perspective. We're looking for a student who's going to come in with a strong understanding of where their learning is going to go, but also, how can we really support you in getting to your goals? And I'd say the one piece with us at the end of the day as well is, one of my favorite parts about my job is that congratulations call. That's always exciting. But I really like the longevity of this job as well. There's no expectation that we're going to talk to you on a Monday and you're going to apply on the Friday. This may be an 8-month process. I've had students I've worked with for 2 years on getting an application together. And when those students get their chance to get the application in and be admitted, that's a really exciting point.
Yeah, it's like you're going on the journey with them, right? You're in it with them. Yeah. All right. So you're all from Canadian universities. So I should ask, why would you say Canada is an attractive option for MBA students? And I am going to start with Karen.
I think we all have our own reasons for loving our country. But for me, having I lived in multiple provinces. I grew up on the East Coast. So for those that aren't familiar, that's kind of the cold part of the Atlantic Ocean. and have lived there, grew up there, and now I'm in Ontario. The diversity, the beauty of the country is certainly one of the things. We have students that arrive and we take them to, one of the parks to do a hike, and they've just never seen so much green. They've never had that opportunity to have kind of those wide open spaces, which is always such a great moment as well. But just the diversity of the employment opportunities as well. Like the country is big and broad and lots of different landscapes. The employment is the same way. We've got everything from some great startups. We've got your traditional big banks. We've got the consultants. You can pretty much do whatever you dream of here, which I think is really lovely. There's just so many different opportunities, and as Chris alluded to earlier, the immigration, we do make it as easy as possible. I think, especially considering a lot of other countries, we are welcoming those international students, and we love when they come, and we love when they stay.
Yeah, yeah. All right, and Ryan, why would you say Canada is an attractive option for MBA students?
Yeah, I think to begin on the cultural point. So I grew up in Toronto. Loved it for the 22 years that I was there, but decided I wanted something a little bit slower paced. And I thought the beauty of that was I moved 45 minutes away, and I have a trail with huge greenery behind my apartment now. And it's a 45-minute drive if I want to drive into one of the most multicultural cities in the world. So the beauty of this country is that landscape, is that ability to access just about anything you're interested in within an hour or two. And I think that that's one of the pieces that for students also relates into that combination that we really look to strive for in this country of a work-life balance. Yes, we want you to have that amazing career. We want you to be thriving in it, but we also want you to be able to enjoy the time outside of the office or the time outside of the classroom as well. So we really do strive in that aspect for sure. I think we'll all mention it. In speaking to so many international students, I think last year we broke 100 different countries that we had contacted. Wow. Regularly. It comes up about the immigration opportunity, and it's always important to identify, nothing is guaranteed. There are no guarantees of immigration, but the resources are high and the opportunity is high. Because you're now going to be a skilled worker in a country that values skilled workers. If you come and you complete a degree here, you're also going to have a degree from our country as well. And it really does align on both sides. And I would say for our students, what we really value is also being able to make those network connections for your postgraduate work visa during your MBA. It's really about getting you the chance to understand where you can take this degree, maybe not in the next year or 2 years, but we want to understand the next 10 and 15 and 20. And those contacts that you make in our program, whether they're here or abroad, are going to be the ones that are going to last with you. So those are really the pieces in Canada that I appreciate the most. And, it's not an understatement to say that we are an incredibly friendly country. We do undoubtedly, put that out there. And I think that that's very much seen when our students come and begin their networking journey with us.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. And Chris, anything to add? Why do you think Canada is an attractive option for MBA students?
Yeah, not really. I think my colleagues have really covered everything. I think, the immigration component, I think, is crucial, right? I think what I always say to candidates, and I agree with Ryan that, there's nothing is guaranteed in life, is I always say to them that if you come to Canada and, you're able to, obviously you graduate, you get if you're in I think a 2-year master's program, it's a 3-year open work permit, which again, for most of our candidates, that gives you plenty of time during the course of those 3 years to apply for what we call permanent residency. And as Ryan alluded to, with the Canadian education and almost 99% chance working in a professional job, you exceed the points in order to get that. So, it's very unlikely that you won't be granted permanent residency, which then allows you to stay indefinitely. That was my route to Canada because I'm from the UK. And I haven't gone back to the UK, so maybe that's maybe that's a good indication to our audience that Canada's a great place to live too. So I think all those really are crucial. And what I come back to is I say to candidates, I would like to think at no point is an external source going to be telling you the outcome of your future, right? You are not going to be put into a situation where you are in a lottery or where you have to ask your company now to sponsor you, right? So therefore, your future in the country you've studied and now working in is out of your control. I always feel that when you come to Canada, it is in your hands and you are controlling your pathway. And that's, again, a huge attraction, I think, of coming to Canada. And so, I think ultimately that's why many of the candidates that I work with have picked Canada. And yeah, they typically will, I think as we did Ontario and the Toronto region, it is a great place. There's a lot of jobs and opportunity here. The diversity of our city means that there's a very good chance that, for a start, if they're talking to me, well, I'm someone who didn't begin my life in Canada. And probably their hiring manager in a company may also be an immigrant and have started their life somewhere else. So you can always feel like, okay, there's potential for me to belong here because, I can see other people have made the move here and have been successful.
Yeah. That's good stuff. And then finally, I want to, give each of you the floor. Tell me, what should international students know specifically about your program? And let's start with Karen.
Thanks. So specifically about our program, we're a little different than some of the other MBAs in Canada. We are a one-year program. So our program starts in January and ends in December. So it really kind of lowers the opportunity costs to you. You're only giving up 1 year of work while you complete your MBA, and our employment rates are fantastic. So we've been sitting at 96, 97% employed after graduation over the last few years. So we'll get you right back into the workforce to be able to find that. The other thing about our program, and this is where it really comes down to what's the right program for you, and where you're going to be deciding on that fit, is that we are a team-based program. We work really hard to recreate what the work environment is. So you are put on a team, you work with that team for the first 6 months. Half of every course mark is going to be based on your teamwork. So you take turns being leads, you take turns, having work assigned to you. It really, because we have such a diverse in our class, we put the teams together with that in mind as well. It really helps you to learn how to work with lots of different people, lots of different personalities. We give you lots of coaching as well. You'll have team coaches, career coaches, and executive coaches that work with you to have difficult conversations, how to take and present feedback in a helpful manner, I think. So those are some of the things that really kind of make us unique is that 1 year and that team-based learning.
Awesome. And Chris, what would you say? What is there anything that you would share that you'd say is specific to your program?
Yeah, so obviously we're a 2-year MBA program. So effectively, the way I say to candidates is it's around 20 months actually of being a student. So you do 8 months of study in your first year. And then what we have is an internship component. So our students are required to complete an internship. There is a course credit for it. And typically, most of our students will complete that internship at the end of first year, right, through the summer months. So there's a natural break in the MBA, but it is flexible. We actually do have co-op status at Rotman, and you can, if you want to, do your internship in the autumn. So some of our students are finishing up their internships now, or you could do it in the winter of your second year, which is actually the very last thing that you do before you graduate. But you can only do it once, okay, because of the study schedule. And then the second year is you come back to school. So it's pretty much split between what we call the core curriculum. So the MBA fundamentals is the first year, and our students all follow the same sort of timetable in the first year, and then the second year is purely electives, and that's when you can kind of really kind of expand your options, take courses that interest you. And then Rotman obviously has a wide variety of courses that we offer. We're not a specialized MBA. We are, it's a broad management program. You can take your career in many different directions, and I think my colleagues will agree that that's the benefit of just an MBA. It's great for career switchers, it's great for career advancement, great for developing sort of leadership skills. You know, and our students take their careers in many different directions. You know, I think sometimes there's a lot of misconception that MBA is just for finance and consulting firms. Well, of course, yes, that's still obviously very popular, but I think MBAs now can take you into careers in tech, marketing, e-commerce, real estate, innovation and entrepreneurship. So, you know, our students, and I'm sure the students from Mac and Queens, are moving into all kinds of different industries and functional areas. So don't limit yourself with an MBA, right? Don't just think that you have to be a finance professional to do an MBA. I think it's a real sort of old school misconception. Yeah. So that's a little bit about our program. Kind of gets the sort of, you know, is a 2-year commitment though. Yeah.
Thank you. And Ryan, anything about your program that you would say is specific that international students should know?
Yeah, so we do offer multiple programs. If you're looking for funding through MPOWER, I will note that the full-time program that is 20 months in length is likely the program you'll be looking at. That program we've designed for individuals with 4 to 8 years of work experience. So we're really looking for individuals who are driving their career and really have an understanding of where it is they're headed with it. The goal in the program being 20 months in length is that you'll have 2 full academic years to really not only build that business foundation incredibly strong, but also work on a specialization that you get to have full flexibility on. So the goal in that space is that you're going to have an understanding of where your career is going. You really want to harness that and understand it in your first 2 academic semesters. Similar to Rotman, we do have a summer internship opportunity. Get out there, try those skills out, and really identify, probably my favorite thing, what am I missing? What do I need to get in these final 8 months that I'm here to really be able to go out and have all the fuel I need for the rest of my career as I progress forward? And then in those final 8 months, as I said, it's all about your specialization. So we have 2 required courses during that time. And then you get to select 8 courses on your own. Now, we do have 6 specializations, and many students, you know, see a specialization like finance, strategic marketing, business analytics, health service management, and they're excited by that, and they want to go fully into that. And that's very exciting and an opportunity. Over 80% of our students decide to actually pursue a general MBA. And they end up making their own specialization. And for DeGroote, that's really where we like our students to kind of live. We know that maybe just the course outline that we've put out for you is not exactly going to build all the skills you need exactly. So how can you work to really understand what skills you need to develop? And how can we best support you in doing that? Recently, we've seen a lot of students who are going into strategic marketing understand that you can't do marketing anymore without business analytics and an understanding of numbers behind it. So they decide to combine those 2 specializations. And I think really our standout point as a program is our opportunity to really make your connections in the industry, but also understand by making those connections what skills need to be developed, and then come and develop them in our classroom through tangible skills.
Awesome. With that in mind, Ryan, so if I wanted to study abroad and I have applied or I'm applying to an MBA program, what should I know about the admissions process?
Yes, so I think it's important to recognize that all admission processes are different for every institution. Everyone has different grade requirements, GMAT requirements, GRE requirements, work experience, all those different things. What's really, really important for anyone applying anywhere is get in contact with that school. Understand what it is they are looking for and understand how you can best position your application. And I don't mean to say the worst thing that you can do, but one of the worst things that you can do is submit an application that's incomplete in the eyes of the institution, because a lot of the times they'll just accept it and unfortunately send you a decline letter. So taking the time to invest in yourself and understanding what that process is incredibly important. I'll save for DeGroot, and I'm happy to send out this link afterwards. We will do a program assessment and a GMAT waiver assessment for anyone who is interested. So we're happy to do that assessment for you, understand what program is best for you, and then we'll set up a one-on-one meeting to go through what it is going to take to submit the best possible application.
Got it.
This guy just said
And with
he sent
that,
me to
Chris,
pass on a link
I would pose
that
this
has
to
like
you.
application for
Is there
GRE,
any advice for a student who is
which
waiting
is like
on an
faster,
acceptance letter or who
which
has
like is
just
so
been
good for
accepted?
students because they all complain about that. That's like
Okay.
if we can get them
Who's
to do
just been
these,
accepted?
that's like an amazing like just like here you go, like thanks so
Well, I
much,
mean,
apply to my
I would
master
probably
degree,
say if
like
you've been
yeah.
accepted to one of our programs, then my general feeling would be that you've had
Everybody
multiple
who's like
interactions
streaming
with
just
us,
heard
as
that
Ryan's saying.
and like can't
I
access
agree
it.
with him.
So,
Very
like, I'll send
rarely
them the next
do
one.
we work with candidates who really have no interaction with us prior to even an admissions interview. That's very rare. Certainly for our international portfolios. But I think if you're waiting and you haven't had an interview or you've not heard from the school, that could be, yes, as Ryan said, it could be an incomplete application. We do sometimes find that people apply without a GMAT or GRE. And although, I mean, this could be a conversation that could go on for a while, is, when and how do we waive that? But typically it's still a requirement for many of our applicants. So if they're waiting, it could be an incomplete application. It could just be volume. But certainly if you've already had an acceptance, then I think really what I tend to find is that's the period where to be honest with you, most of our international students are working out financing. Right, so maybe it comes back to MPOWER and why we're here today. Yep. Is that typically is the number one reason to contemplate the offer, right? Unless you are fortunate and you have multiple offers, so you're dealing with multiple schools. That can be another conversation that you can then have with your admissions team of, which offer is going to be right for you. But normally I would say this is the period where people are, if they're going to enroll and you have to pay a deposit, right, which I'm sure is the same with Queen's and McMaster and any MBA, before you commit that money, you also need to figure out, do you also have the financing in place in order for you to A, apply for your study permit, and B, be able to fund yourself through the program. And that to me is always a crucial period between it getting an offer and accepting and enrolling in the program.
Yeah. And what's interesting, that was going to be, you kind of answered what the next question would be. So let's say I just received my acceptance letter from my first choice business school. What should I know about that process from being admitted to actually being enrolled and on campus? And I'm going to pose that to Karen, since Chris, you kind of segued into that with your response.
Yeah, so I think the thing that you can do if you've got your acceptance and it's your first choice and that's what you want, hopefully that means that you've done your research, you've talked to current students, you've talked to alumni already to know that this is the program that is going to be the right fit for you, and that's why it was your first choice. So you just want to keep leveraging those contacts. And then leverage the people in the program office like myself. We're here to help support. So we'll put you in touch with some of the international student advisors that we have here at Queen's if you need help working on your visa. They're the experts, so we'll help you speak with them. We will help you to find housing here in Kingston. Like it's just really leveraging all of the supports that are going to be there once you have the big things like you've made your decision that this is the school and you've got your financing in place, then it's taking advantage of all the things that are being offered to you. So asking all the questions, as I said, current students and alumni are really going to be a major resource for you during that time as you transition to Canada.
And can you share more about the application process leading up to the acceptance letter? So what makes a student a good fit for the program?
Yeah, of course. Sorry. So for us, and I think the personal touch, I hope, is what's coming across. Is what all of us really care about. And that's for Smith specifically here at Queen's, we kind of look for 4 buckets. We're looking for people that can fill kind of those ones. Obviously, academic horsepower. As I've mentioned, this is a 1-year program. It's a pretty intense, academically rigorous program because we are taking all of the things that you would be learning at the other schools over those 20 months and kind of condensing it into 12. So we want to make sure that you're going to be able to do the work. We want to make sure that you're set up for success. The other things that we're looking for are EQ, which can mean many things. I think it's becoming one of those most used phrases, and the definition of it is getting a little murky. But for us, we're looking for people who want to learn. So you're coming to do the MBA because you want to grow, because you understand that there are things that you want to work on in yourself, because there's things that you're excited about learning. So having some of that self-awareness about what it is that you want to grow in yourself. Coachability, we're a team-based program, so we want people who are going to be open to feedback and are going to work with that feedback to strengthen some part of themselves. And resiliency is the other piece that we really look for. Not everything is going to go your way. Maybe you don't land your dream job, or maybe you don't get the mark that you were looking for on a certain thing. We want to know that you're going to be able to handle that. We want to hear from you during the application process about a time where things didn't, and what you did to get up and to move on and move forward from that. So when you're thinking about your cover letter, we really want to get to know you. So when you're working on that piece, as part of your application, you're going to be talking to your application advisor. You're going to be talking to current students. You're going to be talking to alumni likely as well as part of that. But that cover letter is going to carry a lot of weight with the admissions committee. So that is your chance to show us, what is making you unique, really letting your personality shine through.
Awesome. Thanks, Karen. And so with that in mind, Ryan, so why is that good fit, important for both the student and the program?
Yeah, absolutely. I do think that it's incredibly important to recognize that different schools have different approaches to learning. They have different avenues that they're looking to succeed within. So I'll speak specifically to McMaster and how we look to our business education. So it is heavily case-based. We're understanding real-world examples, and we're trying to understand them in a real-world context. And that means that you're going to be working in teams to understand how you would approach a problem, how you would present a solution, and physically get in front of the classroom and present. That also leads to opportunities for you to present in front of some of our employer partners, or some of our community partners as well. And the real benefit in what that fit means is you need to find a school that's going to allow you the space to flourish. I always talk to students and they say, I'm not a presenter, so I don't know if this program's for me. Well, maybe this program is for you because that's a skill you need to develop, or that's something that you need to look to find a little bit more of. And I also note as well that for McMaster as a whole, and in our program specifically, we're very community focused. We're very community based in the concept that we want individuals to be looking out for each other and creating connections with one another. I was just talking to an alumni of about 15 years, and them and their partner, who they actually met in the program, we're talking about how they've never actually looked for jobs post-graduation, but rather it's been their network that they've been able to reach out to within the group to talk about opportunities, or they've had people reach out to them. So when you talk about fit for a program, really make sure that when you're looking at your future career and you're looking at your future development, the school is offering the pieces that you're looking to attain in whether it's their curriculum, their career services, or their alumni.
Got it. And, now that I have my acceptance letter, keeping in mind the advice that you all have shared, I've gotten my study permit, I've gotten my travel authorization approved, bags are packed. What else do I need to know? What can I expect in the first days and weeks leading up to me being on campus? And I will pose that. Brian, would you like to take that?
Yeah, so exciting time. Exciting time is what we will call it. First and foremost, months before that, we're going to be working with you. We're going to have webinars ongoing about housing. We're going to have webinars about immigration. We're going to have webinars about finances, and we're going to make sure that all of our information is set up and appropriate, so we feel comfortable and confident when we get on that flight. We want to make sure that when you land here and you come to your first day at the Ron Joyce Center, which is where our MBA takes place, that you're going to walk through those doors filled with excitement and confidence. And that starts off by getting a chance to meet your classmates. So you're actually going to have multiple chances before the program even begins to get to know your classmates and understand who you're going to be studying with. And then when you get here on the very first day, we do something called International Welcome Week. And the goal there is that we have all of our international students on campus for a week before any of our onboarding begins. In that space, we're really looking to make sure that our candidates know what they're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks, but also are getting acclimatized to being in Canada. We're going to have an opportunity for you to speak with different resources that are going to be important, including setting up a Canadian bank account, Canadian phone, making sure you have your SIN number, which is your social insurance number. And we're going to align all of those pieces. But importantly as well, in that first week, we're going to do a lot of culture stuff. We're going to do some simple things of understanding how business works here in Canada, how to approach different types of employers, or how to make new connections. And I think something that's really exciting to a lot of students is you'll get a chance to go and see one of the wonders of the world. We actually do a trip to Niagara Falls every year so that you get that opportunity to go and see it. We don't say it enough, but Hamilton is the capital of the world when it comes to waterfalls, if you didn't know. So we really are focused on making sure that you get a chance to really begin to experience Canada a little bit outside of the classroom, so that when the classroom begins, you still feel as though you have opportunity to do so.
Awesome. And, finally, is there anything else the audience should know about business school, especially as aspiring international students? And I'm going to pose this to Chris. I think things around maybe tuition or additional fees, anything specific that you think is important for international students to know about your program or the business school?
Yeah, so I'll try and address this to, try and include my colleagues here, because I think obviously there's probably a lot of real similarities. I think obviously the key thing to really work out is you definitely have to look beyond the cost of the program from just a purely tuition perspective. So you definitely have to look at, how much is it going to cost for accommodation, for food, for transit, and incorporate all of that into your financial planning. But also understanding that, when you come to Canada, your study permit does allow you to work, right? And, some of our students, obviously there's the internship component, and then in the second year, you can work part-time, right? It's actually no limits now on, there used to be a 20-hour limit, but Canada has changed that. So there are actually no limits on hours that students can work with a study permit, but we don't recommend more than 20 when you're doing your electives. You can't really work in your first year. So that's why, and it might be the case for the year you're at Queen's, it's a very intense. So you definitely have to have that funding in place for the sort of first 8 to 12 months where you may, you just cannot work and the school just discourages it because of, the program obviously is quite rigorous. So those are things you've definitely got. I mean, again, you've given me kind of the pragmatic question here, Sarah. Ryan gave you all the fun stuff, but I think it's all really important information that you need to know as you plan to come here, because you definitely don't want to get here and feel overly burdened by financial stress, and then it impacts your experience in the program. So I think those are things that you really do have to sort of take into consideration, and I think it's important to address that, and that would be one of the major things that you have to sort of work towards in planning for your your experience when you get here. So that would probably be I think, in looking at kind of the demographic of the panel, the audience today, and sort of the questions I often get, those are key components. But as Ryan said, I think all schools here do a lot of work with you pre-arrival around, helping you with understanding the study permit, housing. We do a lot of webinars and events, either led by the admissions team or student led, to try and make sure that you're well prepared before you get here. Yeah, I would say all of us are doing that important work because it's such a huge life-changing experience for many of them.
Yeah, agreed. And so now I'm going to turn it over to some questions that we received from our audience. This will be just a few questions that we got here. One of the questions that we got will these schools, so will your programs accept a student with a second class lower division or a socioeconomic position, let's say someone from Ghana? And Karen, I'll hand that over to you.
So transcripts are one part of the application process. There are, as I mentioned earlier, lots of things that we're looking for besides that academic horsepower. So if that is what your degree is from, don't stop from applying for us. We'll be looking at everything. We want to get to know who you are, what your work experience has been, what else you've been doing outside of school. So it certainly wouldn't be a reason to not apply.
Okay. And the next question, I'll pose this to Ryan. Do I need a scholarship to be accepted?
No, so that's an important detail. And I think a lot of students begin the conversation of what kind of scholarship is available at your institution. And it's an important question for sure. And I think that most of us here evaluate scholarship at the point of admission. I will definitely leave it open as well, but for us, we don't ask for an additional application at that point in time for scholarship. It's done through our admissions committee. And I think it's also important to recognize that if you don't get a scholarship, it doesn't mean that you are a lesser candidate or anything along those lines. You are still just as much a part of this community when you come to join us.
I appreciate that. And then, what are the most postgraduate work options, or what are the postgraduate work options for MBA graduates in Canada? Chris, would you like to take this one?
Sure, I can take that. And again, I mean, I think we're looking at primarily, I would say, and my colleagues can certainly give their opinion here. I think if you're at Queen's and Mac, many of your grads are probably going to come to Toronto initially to seek employment. Simply because it's the largest sort of financial center, second largest in North America, actually. And, obviously there's a lot of, the money is here, salaries wise, and there's a lot of opportunity, right? Because you're in the biggest sort of center of Canada and very close to Hamilton and Kingston. So, and without French, it can be a little tricky to work in Montreal, which is our other large center. So if any of you are French speaking, bilingual, then that opens up a lot of doors. So, but typically for our MBAs, I think I alluded to it earlier in that there's a perception that you have to work in finance or consulting. Obviously, that still presents quite a large proportion of opportunities because those institutions still use MBA programs as a way to identify talent, and it's a talent pipeline for them, right? But again, we also have to, how do we define finance these days? I mean, we have many of our grads are working in large financial institutions, but they're working in digital transformation, they're working in marketing, they're working in tech. They are not necessarily in a finance role, but of course, those opportunities are still there, right? Investments, corporate finance, examples. Risk management, data analytics now is a huge potential. So if any of you on the call here are data specialists or data scientists, that is a huge area of opportunity and continues to grow in every single industry, right? So you can be a data scientist in pretty much every single possible industry across North America now. So those are skill sets, and we offer courses and electives in that area that could definitely lead you to opportunities. Outside of that, again, opportunities in marketing, e-commerce and retail. And when we look at retail, I would say now you're looking at some of it's that blend of kind of e-commerce retail. So Amazon, do a lot of hiring here in Canada. So there's opportunities, within that kind of environment too. So again, I don't want to sort of go on and on and on, but I would say what you need to understand is that the MBA gives you options, right? It gives you options because it's a broad management education, right? So you can take your career in multiple directions. And if you want to switch careers, then obviously our job is to try and help you with that. And many of our international students, literally, we call it, they make the double jump, right? They change countries and they change careers. But if you're a career advancer, that's also really, great for you as well. And that transition is maybe slightly easier for you. But, we're here to help you. And I would say all three programs can provide that guidance. And I think we've talked a lot about career centers, networking, alumni networks, and obviously the freedom you have in Canada, right? You're not going to get too many employers turning you away because you have a study permit or you're on a visa, right? That's something to always remember.
Awesome. And would you say that a student should have their focus decided before they start their MBA? Do they need to?
No, not really. I mean, I would say, Karen, that would be a good question for you in a 1-year program. I think for me and Ryan in a 2-year program, they do have time, I guess, to think about it. What I always try and do is say, we always ask candidates in an interview, what are your short-term career goals? So it's the idea of what are your goals that the university is going to help you with when you're in the program, even though obviously this is a long-term investment. So we do try and get a sense of what candidates are looking to do, right? So that we can either say, yep, that's great. Or sometimes we do have to have honest conversations about managing expectations, right? Based on their profile. And then how can we help you? How can you have a more flexible approach? But we do like students to have, a reasonable direction, right? I think when we get candidates who say, okay, I'm going to apply for investment banking jobs and I'm going to apply for the top consulting firms, typically that potentially could go south very quick, because that's two of our most intense admissions and recruitment opportunities. And what you do is you spread yourself too thin, right? And therefore you're not successful in either of them. So we do look at saying, okay, you need to have a little bit of a direction, but there's plenty of flexibility within that sort of functional area that you're interested in. Yeah, hopefully my colleagues will agree with me on that one, because obviously what we're doing through this process is we're coaching. We're also coaching our applicants through the process. And I think that's the sort of high touch approach that we have here at Canadian schools.
Awesome. And we do have other questions, but I think this is a great opportunity for students to follow up with you guys directly as we're reaching the end. And so my final question, final words, what would you, how would you encourage students at this point to apply, any final tips for our future MBA students? Karen, you can take it away.
Yeah, so Smith's is a little different from our colleagues in that we don't charge an application fee. So if this is something that you're thinking about doing, there's no risk to you. There's a beautiful big red contact us button on every page of our website, I think. Get in touch. We will have that personal reach out to you, get to know you a little bit more, see what's going to be a fit, whether it's the MBA or one of our other master's programs. But take that first step. I think that's the best piece of advice that I can give you. Don't hold yourself back. Don't doubt yourself. Just get started, and we'll work with you to see what's going to be a fit for you. And like I said previously, be yourself. We want to get to know you. That's the most important thing in an application. It's not the grades on the page. It's not the GMAT score. It's the personality. It's the fit for the program, both ways, whether it's the right place for you, and if it's the right program as well. So yeah, just don't doubt yourself and just get started. That's taking the first step is always the hardest part. Just get it out there.
Awesome. And I'm sure Ryan and Chris can agree with your points there. So I want to thank you all for joining us. If you're looking to get in touch with Ryan, Chris, or Karen, I know that they're accessible via the business school website, but you can also reach out to myself directly, and I'm happy to share their contact information with you. Again, thank you all for joining. Really appreciate your time. And we look forward to sharing more about MBA admissions and hopefully your admissions into any of these programs here today. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
See ya. Take care. Thanks.
Lovely. It was nice to meet you, Ryan.
Hey, yeah, I know. They all had valuable things to say, so. Hmm. Oh yeah, absolutely. Happy to help. This is, I think worked out really well for digital. I think worked out well for university relations. So I'll call it a success. Um, I think we had really, oh, go ahead. I think the only feedback is now that I've seen the panelists, they're all amazing public speakers, but we probably have to coach them to keep their answers to like 2 minutes or less. Yeah, just so we can proceed through a little bit more content. But overall, I think it was really good. Um, Even though we had relatively like low absolute value of attendees, they're kind of like the high quality in funnel attendees. And we also had a huge response comparatively on social media. So I think in terms of like MPOWER's brand building, we actually had like almost twice as many people watching across YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn as we did in the webinar. So we reached about 100 people. Um, and overall, I think very successful. The panelists clearly know what they're doing. Um, yeah, cool, 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 cool. I'll follow up with you. Oh, on what we can include in the follow-up email as well for them. So, yep. Yeah, to the attendees. So we send one with the recording to the people who registered but didn't attend. And then, normally we send basically the same email. I think for the attendees, we could send, the panelists' contact info if they want to share that. Yeah. And, we'll leave that out of the registered mix. That's something that, only the attendees will get. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, of course. I am definitely looking forward to the next one. I hope our panelists were similarly, you know, found it similarly helpful. So awesome. Awesome, dude. Cool. Thanks. And thanks again for hosting. Right. Sure. Sounds good. Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks.